Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today it's yet another video on my 2024 NFL offseason prediction series. We're doing the New England Patriots. Make sure to hit the like, leave a comment in the comment section below. It really helps out with the algorithms and pushes this video out to more people, and subscribe if you have not done so already. And the Patriots, who have long stood on consistency within the actual front office and the coaching staff, is now nothing like it. At least not quite like it used to be with Bill Belichick, who's been the coach since 1999 or 2000, is gone. It's gone. It's over. 20 plus years of being the head coach. It's over. It's a new era. Still very much under the Bill Belichick tree, which hasn't seen a lot of success as head coaches. We must point that out. The Bill Belichick tree sort of worked well in-house a lot. And that would be with Josh McDaniels. That would be Matt Patricia. That would be Romeo Crennel. That would be, you name it. All the success for the Bill Belichick tree has come within the Patriots franchise. So now with Jerod Mayo taking over, it was the plan. He is the Belichick disciple, though, so it'll be interesting to see how this next Belichick disciple does as a head football coach. Really, the only one that saw any type of success as a head coach at all was Bill O'Brien. So it'll be interesting to see what Jerod Mayo is able to do. He is inheriting a great defense, but an absolute mess on the offensive side of the ball. An offense that was so incredibly inept that made them the third worst team in football, losing games while only giving up 10, 11, 12, 13 points. That is unacceptable. And how he is able to build the offensive side of the ball, in particular being a defensive-minded coach, is going to be a real key to the success of this team going forward. And that includes getting a new quarterback. That includes adding more weapons, maybe some veteran help. We're going to talk about how they're going to use all this immense cap space they have and the opportunities that they have to free up cap space by cutting some veterans that are definitely overpaid and underperforming without inheriting a lot of dead money moving forward. We're going to go with the draft strategy in general. And they have a lot of opportunity here to quietly maybe improve faster than people think, but it really all starts with the head coach, rookie head coach, young head coach. Let's get to it. Like I mentioned at the top, it is head coach Jerod Mayo, the former Patriots linebacker. He's been part of that coaching staff under the Belichick tree for a while now. And this was a plan that they had set up years in advance, apparently, is to have Jerod Mayo be the successor to Bill Belichick. And so it's going to be interesting to watch him inherit sort of this mess that he has on a side of the ball that he doesn't specialize in, which is the offensive side of the ball, because we're going to look at some of the offensive rankings here, and it's just a nightmare, man. It's an absolute nightmare. They couldn't score points. They couldn't get in the end zone. They couldn't convert on third down. They were allowing sacks. They turned the ball over a lot, and there was just no real redeeming quality here. Teams were able to focus on stacking the box and making the quarterbacks beat them over the top. That's why I feel like this offseason is going to involve a lot of rebuilding of the offensive side of the ball, because they do have some really good pieces on the defensive side. And the defense is going to be able to set, hopefully, this offense up to succeed, because other than in the red zone they did actually really well, and that helps when you have like Ramondre Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki even. Demario Douglas quietly had a really good year for a rookie, but because they were so bad, he never really got the focus that I think he probably deserved for having a damn good season, coming out of nowhere basically in a wide receiver room that had guys that they had paid money to, like Devontae Parker and Juju Smith-Schuster, who was absolutely horrific. I bet they regret giving up Jacoby Myers, who they gave a very similar contract to Juju for, so they pretty much just went, we don't want Jacoby Myers, but we'll pay Juju the exact same amount. I think that's proven to be a mistake. But it starts, obviously, with getting the right quarterback in place, and they are in a great spot, obviously, draft-wise, and we'll get to that, to get that quarterback in place that's going to fit the offense a little bit more. I do think that things were a little bit unfair to Mac Jones. After that rookie year, he really just kept getting depleted in terms of his influences around him and coaching staff and in the player personnel that he was given. But I think that with a new head coach, you are in a position where you can reset that quarterback clock, and it's pretty much worth it. I say they're in the same position as Chicago, if not a little bit more obvious. It's like these are horrific numbers. 30th and third down percentage. It's bad, especially when you go and you look at what the defense was able to do. These are really good defensive numbers for the most part. Middle of the pack in points. Keep in mind, they did that. Middle of the pack in points, middle of the pack in touchdowns allowed. They're doing that with an offense that's basically operating at an inept level. They were 23rd in rush attempts allowed, which, is expected when you're playing from behind, and 19th in pass attempts allowed. So they were on the field quite a bit. Way more than they probably should have been, and they still were 7th in yards allowed, 10th in rushing touchdowns. They were top 5 in pass touchdowns allowed. Red zone and third down, they were great. The only thing they really suffered in was the sacks category and forcing turnovers. That I think focusing on getting sacks is going to be probably the focus for the defensive side of the football. And I think that they can mix in some of these young guys in the draft who are maybe coming in as pass rush guys, because you do have guys who can play sort of the edge position, guys like Anthony Jennings, and who are really good on those early downs. But what you need is that third down threat. And if you add that third down threat to this defense, that you're pretty much going to be able to bring them all back, at least the key contributors, the main contributors you're going to be able to bring back. This defense could remain really good with strong coaching from literally the head coach down. And that'll help raise up the offense. You just got to get guys on the offense. You got to get more weapons on the offense. But, man, this defense is really setting you up to have a quicker turnaround than maybe I think people are expecting the Patriots to have. But, again, you got to clean up the sacks. But when you clean up those sacks, that means you're going to also clean up the turnovers, because quarterbacks are going to be, they're going to be forcing balls in. They're going to be trying to get balls out to avoid sacks, strip sacks, fumble, all that stuff. So all those things will come. And then as that comes, all these other categories that are already looking pretty good are also going to improve. And the Patriots have some cap room here to work with. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have some key bodies that they have to bring back, but they're also in a position where they can release some bigger contracts without picking up a lot of dead money either. And it's guys that haven't really been contributing all that much to the team. We'll start with the resignings. They do have a couple here. Michael Owen, who's a free agent. I'm giving him a 4-year, $65 million deal, $22 million bonus with a void year in there, making him one of the highest paid tackles in the league. This is more money than what Jawan Taylor got in Kansas City. Hunter Henry, I basically signed him to the exact same contract for the most part that he initially signed when he came to New England. He's another guy who quietly had a pretty good year, but because they were so bad, especially on the offense, it didn't really get the shine that it probably would have in a better situation. I like Kyle Duggar's 4-year, $20 million, $15 million bonus with a void year. That is like the Rayshon Jenkins contract that was given out in Jacksonville. And I think Duggar, being more of a run-stopping specialist, he struggled in coverage this year. And he is the number 2 safety on this team with Jabril Peppers out there. But I think he's an important guy because you can play him at linebacker, you can drop him down, you can cover tight ends, and running backs if you need him to. You just hope that he can improve in those categories. But against the run as that 8th man in the box, he's as good as anybody. Mac Wilson, as a rotational linebacker, had a really good season. A very good season as a rotational linebacker out there. So I'm giving him 3 years, $15 million, $3 million bonus. It's a very low risk contract for him. And you get to keep him out there, and because you're keeping a lot of the same philosophies of that defense, you expect him to be able to be a good contributor out there, especially the fact that he's going to be, if he maintains that role of being that rotational linebacker. He did get a lot of snaps, but you can maybe improve, give him more snaps this season as time goes on. And then another guy who quietly had a good year, Anthony Jennings. We talked about him in previous videos. 3 years, $16 million, $5 million bonus, 2 void years. That's not really a high-end contract for an edge guy coming off a good year, but that's because he didn't really do well as a pass rusher. A lot of his work, his best work, his high-end work, quite frankly, came on early downs as a run defender on the edge. So you want to keep him because you want to keep executing on those early downs, stay ahead of schedule on the defensive side, force teams to put the ball in the air, and then maybe implement some more pass rushing specialists that you can land through the draft to make up for all the good work that you're doing on early downs. And you're also able to clear, you can see the numbers there, you can clear a lot of cap space just by cutting a couple guys. J.C. Jackson is a $14.3 million cap savings for cutting him, and you pick up no dead money. It's probably the most obvious cut that any team could make in this offseason from the looks of it. And then you got 3 defensive linemen who did not play very well. Dietrich Wise, $5.4 million in cap savings. You can get rid of him. Devon Godchaux did not play very well this year. He was ranked the 80th graded interior defensive lineman. You get $8.3 million in savings from him. And then Lawrence Guy, who's 34 years old, you get $3 million in cap savings from him. Almost no dead money. Just, that money is much better spent elsewhere. So you're freeing up basically all the money that you're spending in bringing back some of the players. So you're able to sit at a really good cap number to make some pretty big moves. So with the re-signings and the cuts, you get $60.4 million to work on your needs. Now the Mac Jones thing, there was no gaining in cap space by cutting him. You could get $2.5 million in trading him. So maybe they trade him, they get an extra $2 million and a 7th round pick or something, or a conditional late round pick, whatever it may be. But I don't think there's going to be too much of a market for trading him. So you might as well just keep him on the roster. He's your backup for the year. Because your top needs are still quarterback. I think it's pretty obvious. And then you're looking at wide receiver. You're looking at the other offensive tackle position opposite Michael Onwenu. And then we talked about the pass rushing specialists off the edge. And then you want some cornerback help as well. You want to help build with what you have in the cornerback room with Jonathan Jones, with Christian Gonzalez. You want to keep replenishing that cornerback room in particular. You're pretty strong at safety, especially if you keep Kyle Duggar with Peppers and Duggar out there. Maybe you can add more of another traditional like deep third safety to throw out there on those obvious passing situations. But you want to help. You gotta work those outside corners. You're playing against Tyreek Hill, against Jalen Waddle, against Stephon Diggs, Khalil Shakir, who came on there late. Garrett Wilson and whoever they may add there as well. That those wide receiver rooms are only going to get better within your division, let alone within the conference. So you want to be able to be prepared to be able to handle that. So we're bringing in 3 pretty big names here and taking advantage of guys coming off of down years with, late in their careers maybe, not really playing all that much. It starts with Austin Eckler. I feel you can get Austin Eckler for pretty cheap, coming off of what was not a very good year, injuries and all that. Turning 30 years old, which is the no-no age for running backs. So you can plug him in at 2 years, $10 million, $6 million bonus void year. I mean, you could even guarantee the entire contract to him. I mean, it's $16 million. I don't see what the big deal is in that. Especially because you pair him up now with Ramondre Stevenson in the backfield. You get a guy who on third down can execute. Give Ramondre Stevenson, give him the early down work. I think this would work out really well for whoever your quarterback is going to be, to have somebody who, and you never know what Austin Eckler could end up doing. He could bounce back. He could be back to where he was. It's doubtful, obviously, because as time goes on, the tread comes off. But I think that there's a real opportunity there to land a big steal in free agency for a discounted price. The same thing there for offensive tackle Tyron Smith coming out of Dallas. 2 years, $20 million, $10 million bonus. Throw 2 void years in there. Spread out that bonus, and you're basically getting no cap hit there. For a guy who can come in, play left tackle, and you still are in a position where you can draft a left tackle, maybe on day 2, who doesn't necessarily have to play all the time. You can, or, Michael Onwenu can play guard. If that tackle ends up performing at a certain level, if someone like Jordan Morgan or something, you could work this out and get 5 really good offensive linemen in there. And then Tyron Smith plays 2 years, probably retires after that. And then you can kick whoever you draft this year into that starting spot, and it's a nice smooth transition. The big money is being spent here on Calvin Ridley, coming from Jacksonville. Ironically, we're giving him a contract similar to what was given to Christian Kirk. It's a 4-year, $35 million base salary, $35 million bonus. So it's a 4-year, $70 million deal, give or take a couple bucks here or there, with a void year on there. Calvin Ridley comes in, didn't really perform at a high consistency level in Jacksonville, and I think that they're maybe going to look on to move from him and throw some money at T. Higgins, for example, to get a different type of wide receiver out there, because they do have Christian Kirk, they do have, Evan Ingram, they have a bunch of guys out there, and they probably are looking for a different type of receiver, which is going to create a great opportunity here for the Patriots to go and grab him. What you're doing here in free agency is people are talking about, you want to, draft this guy, draft that guy. The best way to improve one side of the ball quickly is through free agency. Generally, if you're trying to improve something through the draft, it's a process. Now, this doesn't eliminate that process to be able to have long-term success, but what this does is it quickly replenishes the weapons group and the offensive line, obviously, for your rookie quarterback to come in and not be just completely hung out to dry. Because if you don't make these veteran signings to bring in guys who have at least a proven track record, regardless of what their most recent performances have looked like, then you really are setting up your rookie quarterback to fail. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to kill the confidence of your rookie quarterback. So you get these guys in here, you can still draft a wide receiver. You can still get a wide receiver 3 to go with Ridley and Demario Douglas. You can still draft an offensive lineman to be like a third tackle or even kick Owenu into guard. You get Austin Eckler, who's not a running back 1, but he's a great guy for third downs in those passing situations. Very experienced, great route runner out of the backfield. Will create opportunities for check downs for your quarterback, who now you can simplify the offense even more for him early on in his rookie career, where it's sort of like, okay, one read and then you got your check down there. You do the same thing by bringing back Hunter Henry. And then you can focus on maybe getting some defensive depth going in the draft, because your defense already is so good. So then you can focus on getting situational guys in the draft for defense, and then you can get guys who are more developmental projects for the offense for long-term success, and then you're putting them in there with veterans like Austin Eckler and Tyron Smith, so they can learn from those guys as well, and you can have some knowledge there to pass along. I think this is the best way to immediately improve the offense to where now the defense, like we saw earlier in the video, isn't just hung out to dry every single week, where they're allowing 10 points. I think it was didn't they allow only 10 points a game 3 weeks in a row and lost all 3 games? This is how you avoid that from happening. And then you put yourself in a position where you might be able to sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team, the way that we saw teams who was there in the Colts and the Texans and the Jags. They were all sort of sitting there in that fringe area for most of the season, and ended up working out for them in the end. So this is, again, set your rookie quarterback up for success with some vets. And even with all that, you still have $28.8 million to spend on that second wave of free agency, where after the draft, you can sort of look at where you need some veteran help, where maybe some depth didn't really work out the way you wanted it to, especially with some of those day 3 picks. And you can fill out this roster and really solidify certain position groups more than you have had in the last couple of years. So we sort of touched upon a draft strategy throughout the video, but we're going to break it down all right now. Quarterback at 3. Is it Drake May? Is it Jane Daniels? I don't think it really matters. Either one at 3. You're going to plug him in. You're going to plug him in with a backfield of Ramondre Stevenson and Austin Eckler. You're going to give him a veteran wide receiver in Calvin Ridley with an emerging rookie, Demario Douglas. You're going to give him Hunter Henry. You're going to get Michael Owenu, Tyron Smith, Cole Strange, who had a pretty good year, David Andrews, who had a good year. Give him a good center. You're putting him in a position right now to have at least a semblance of early season success. Then on day 2, what I'm looking for is that pass rush specialist who can come on the field for Anthony Jennings. Maybe Anthony Jennings picks up his pass rush ability, but you need to improve on that 27th ranked sack, 23rd, 27th ranked sack numbers. And then you're also going to be able to add a third wide receiver. You're going to draft another offensive tackle. You're going to be looking at those position groups to solidify the offense even further. But getting a guy who might not necessarily be ready to be a big star early on. You can go and get a guy who can be just a situational contributor if you're looking at the wide receiver, or you're looking at a guy who might be really good run blocker or a really good pass rusher who needs work at the other aspect of their game, and you can draft him and let him work on that throughout the season without having to worry about throwing him out there to the wolves early on. And then on day 3, I'm looking at some depth on the front 4. I'm looking at overall depth on the offensive line as well, and cornerback. You want to get some depth at the quarterback room. Try to find a diamond in the rough type of a deal. Like a Tariq Woolen or whatever, like we saw with Seattle. You want to find somebody who can out there and complement Christian Gonzalez, but also complement Jonathan Jones, who is getting older, who is past the age of 30. So how much longer he has to go is questionable. So you want to, again, you can never have too many corners. You can never have too much depth on the front 4 to help that defense, because if the defense starts picking up injuries, that is the strength of your roster, and you don't want the strength of your roster that carried you throughout the year, that basically was the reason why you didn't go 0-17. You don't want that to be a depleted group, because the offense is still very much a work in process. It's got the under construction sign painted right onto it. So you don't want the offense to be left with not even a defense to be able to help them out in the situations where, age and inexperience comes into play. And there you have it, my prediction video for the 2024 offseason of the New England Patriots. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you think of the veteran signings. I think the quarterback thing at number 3 is pretty obvious, though. Unless some amazing veteran comes up, I don't know that that's really going to happen, though. I mean, is Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins really worth it for you? I don't think it is. Tell me what you think. Comment section below. You can watch the videos on the other side of my head. One of them is the playlist for this entire series or whatever, and then the other one is a recommended video the YouTube overlords think that you would enjoy that I have made already, so maybe you should just marathon my entire channel today and enjoy yourself. And just, keep leaving comments, keep leaving likes. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.